Hare Krishna Maharaj and Pranam.
Hello, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj and Pranam.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Pranam.
Jai. Yeah. Karma Avartanat. So, shall we start? Shall we begin?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We are born in the darkness of ignorance, and our spiritual master has applied the ointment of love of God, wisdom to our eyes. Yeah, yeah, we offer our obeisances to him. And also, Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. That verse is also in the all the introductory verses to Bhagavad Gita. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gananjana. Yeah. So that verse, Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. I offer my obeisances to Rupa Goswami, who has established the mission of Lord Chaitanya in this world and is fully authorized by Lord Chaitanya. So remember reading that Prabhupada says that that is the verse which establishes Rupa Goswami as the Acharya after Lord Chaitanya. Because so many groups of people are saying, oh, we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we are following Lord Chaitanya. And historically, there have been so many different deviations, some of them very, lasting for a short time, some having thousands of followers and lasting for generations. For example, Saki Beki, the Acharya's idea was that Lord Chaitanya says, Goswamis, that we should serve Krishna in the mood of the gopis. Okay, so then he had his sannyasis putting on saris and using, makeup, ladies' mascara, and these kind of things, and dancing like ladies. Yeah. Internally, yeah, we can serve in the mood of the gopis, but externally we serve in the mood of Lord Chaitanya and the six Goswamis, austerity, simplicity, these kind of things. So that was just one deviation. Others are, they're just unbelievable. So who is the Acharya after Lord Chaitanya? Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale. Rupa Goswami, he establishes these principles like that. Yeah. So here, very nice to see everybody here. Right now we have 15 participants. Damni, Abhiram Shantadas, Ananga Manjari Devi Dasi, Ansa Bhagtini, Nilam, Prena, Shatabdi, Uttama Bhakti, and HP Swami. I have a second screen going. And people are asking later on, maybe we can get the link about the classes. Yeah. So first off, I think now what I do, I Control, Shift, how's it go? Shift, Control, Alt, H. Okay, yeah. And so this is Nectar of Instruction. It's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and ISKCON Pakistan, Bhakti Shastri Diploma. And our side, Anjana Sudha Academy, Hanumat Presaka Swami Bhaktivedanta. Okay. And we went over before, of course, the position. Oh my God, stuck here. My goodness. Yeah. Our slideshow won't move. Escape. Okay, let's try that. No? Still frozen. Yeah. Okay, what's going to happen here? Control, Alt, Delete. Okay. Task Manager. Okay, then we go to PowerPoint. Okay. And end task. Okay. Okay. We can go ahead and start again. Sometimes my computer is hanging up like this. So we go here. We go back to PowerPoint. Oh my God, it's not all together. Help. Okay. And I go on down to PowerPoint. Labor-saving devices aren't always labor-saving. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I hope you can see our screen. Okay. So we went through a whole description of the Bhaktivedanta library. Yeah. Hansaduta told us that one time he was traveling with Prabhupada and he was driving and Prabhupada was front seat. And Prabhupada asked him, he said, why do you think I've written all these books? And Hansaduta said he came up with different reasons. And Prabhupada said, no, I've written these books to convince you to chant Hare Krishna. If you're convinced to chant Hare Krishna, then you don't have to read any of my books. Yeah, yeah. And also, again, from Prabhupada's lips, I heard him say, anybody who chants Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, Hari Gaura Bhaktivinoda, and follows it with Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, has achieved the perfection of life. But if you want to preach, you should probably read my books. Yeah. So to accelerate our attachment to the holy names, to engage in Sankirtan, preaching, yeah. Them Prabhupada's books are very central, very important. But we shouldn't forget that the real essence, of course, is Haranama, chanting the holy names, nicely. And of course, we're looking at here, Srimad Bhagavatam is the heart of the Bhaktivedanta library. And Nectar of Instruction, we're taking it as a summary of Nectar of Devotion. And pretty much that holds up. And of course, in Bhakti Shastri, we look at the western part of the ocean of devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. And then we present, and becoming maybe a little more common in the different Bhakti Vaibhava courses, that you go ahead and go to the southern part. In Bhakti Vaibhava, you go to the southern part of the Nectar of Devotion, and that's Bhava Bhakti. First, there's sadhana bhakti, and that's very detailed description in the western part. Yeah. But then bhava bhakti, okay, that's the next level. It's the next level. You haven't come to prema yet, but you're on bhava, and it's a whole science describing vibhava, anubhava, sattvika bhava, vichari bhava. And then we start to actually go through these things. We have to. And then the western part then describes the 5 primary rasas of prema bhakti. And the northern part of Nectar of Devotion then describes the secondary rasas, humor, chivalry, these kind of things, and proper and improper mixtures of mellows. So Nectar of Devotion is a complete science of Bhakti Yoga. It's full of citations from Srimad Bhagavatam. Illustrating the whole point. And this is how to wake up, Can we do it in one lifetime? Well, one lifetime is, if we're very serious and going ahead, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, but it may take one lifetime. And Prabhupada says, if we become perfect in devotional service, usually we don't go back to Goloka at the end of this lifetime, but rather we take birth in Gokula. We take birth someplace where Krishna is directly present with his pastimes, maybe in Navadvip. And then we get our final purification. Okay, so the Bhaktivedanta library And Upadeshamrita is complete in 11 texts. Takes 3 minutes to chant the Sanskrit. Yeah. Then we have this song here, Gitavali. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, of course, has so many commentaries on Upadeshamrita. Okay, so somebody respond to me. I will lead again. O hey Vaishnava Thakura, Doyar Zagar, Edase Koruna Kori.
O he Vaishnava Chakra, Dayara Sagara, Edashe Koruna Kori.
Diya Pada Chaya, Shodoheya Maya, Tomara Charana Dori.
Diya Pada Chaya, Shuddho hai Amar, Tumhara Charana Dhuli.
Chaya Bega Domi, Chaya Dosha Shodi, Chaya Guna Deho Dase.
Chaya Bega Domi, Chaya Dosha Shuddhi, Chaya Guna Diho Dashe.
Chaya Sata Sangha, Deho Heya Mare, Bosechi Sangero Ashe.
Chaya Sata Sangha, Deho He Amare, Bosechi Sange Rase.
Ekaki Amara, Nahi Paya Bala, Harinama Sankirtane.
Ekaki Amara, Nahe Paya Bala, Harinama Sankirtane.
Tumi Kripa Kori, Shvadu Bindu Diya, Deho Krishna Namadane.
Tumi Kirpa Kori, Shruddha Bindu Diya, Deho Krishna Namadane.
Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite paro, tomare shokoti ache.
कृष्ण से तुम्हारा कृष्ण दीते पारो तुम्हारी शक्ति आचे
Amito Kangal, Krishna Krishna Boli, Daitava Pache Pache.
আমি তো कंगाला कृष्ण कृष्ण बोले दैतवा पाछे पाछे
So, such a nice summary introduction to Upadeshamrita, Chaya Begadomi, Chaya Dosha Shori, Chaya Guna Deho Dase. So we already gone ahead and we've been discussing the first verse. Help me dominate the 6 pushes, Vega. And then we went into, and then we explained our perspective that everything is complete. If you can control these 6 pushes, you can become Jagat Guru. You can give shelter and instruction to everybody on the earth. So engaging those 6 pushes in the service of Krishna, in the service of Krishna. If you learn that, you're guru. But text number 2, it gives 6 doshas, 6 things that are going to make it difficult. Yeah, difficult to do that. And then 6 things, Shaya Guna Deho, 6 qualities that'll make it easy. Okay. So today, the first week here, we have 2 more weeks. Then we'll finish off this first part, text number 1, and we did text number 2. So, and then next week we can look at the 3 days. We can look at 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Please give me the 6 kinds of association. How to apply these with different kinds of Vaishnavas, especially Uttama card. And that's so important. So much very, very good information, intelligence, spiritual intelligence we can acquire. When we come out of these courses, we should be different people. We should have fundamental change in our perspective, attitude, abilities eternally. And last week we can finish off with 7 through 11, which is describing basically Vrindavan Dham, so all the way up to Radhakund. Okay. So let's all chant text number 1 together. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam Jiva vegam mudaropasta vegam etan vegam yovishaheta dira sarvam apimam prativim sasishat. Of course, we'd all should learn what the word vegam means. It means push. Push of speech, push of the mind, push of anger, push of the tongue, push of the belly, push of the genitals. Yeah. If you can vishaheta dira, if you can be dira and tolerate these 6 pushes, then you are Jagat Guru. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's all chant text number 2 together now. Achyahara prayasascha prajalpa niyamagraha jana sangas chaloilam cha shadir bhaktir vinashyati. So we were suggesting that the basic principle here is achyahara, over collecting, overeating. And of course, we have a nice picture we found here of a greedy CEO, greedy chief executive officer, and it's showing how the big corporations are exploiting America. Yeah, they're using all the infrastructure, all the taxes that are going to build these roads and everything else, and they're really exploiting them away from the benefit of the citizens to the benefit of these very, very big corporations and these kind of things like that. Prabhupada says that practically speaking, there are no Brahmins in the world, no real Kshatriyas. He said a few Vaishyas, yeah. And most people are Shudra, of course, or worse than Shudra. Yeah. And so the Vaishyas, yeah, they're the big corporations, Citibank, and all these places that, are that are actually controlling through the media and everything else. Times Warner, powerful corporations that actually can make and break, national authorities and people like that. So over collecting. And we're also talking about how in the text it talks about over collecting. And the first part is a general description of how we're under the influence, of the external energy, of the energies of Krishna, and how those force us through the kleshas, adhyatmika, adhibhaudika, adhidaivika, our bodies and minds, different living entities, or nature through hurricanes, through hunger, they force us. That's what it means being under the external energy, Baharanga Shakti. And so their Prabhupada says we should learn to live in such a way that we have plenty of time for Krishna consciousness. Of course, it starts with loyalam, hankering, letting ourselves develop all these desires, cultivating them in. Oh, I want these clothes, I want these shoes, I want this vehicle, I want this luggage, I want this house, I want this, and also then psychological gratification, So loyalam. So catch it right there. Don't desire those things. Because if you desire them, and then you start accumulating them, and then you have to have more space for 40 saris, 120 saris. Oh, one devotee, a good friend, Jaya Krishna Das, he had a business, and it was for cleaning parking lots. In the United States, of course, there's so many big shopping malls and places like that, airports. So many parking lots. And you have to have people going out every night, or maybe at least 3 times a week, cleaning them, getting rid of the weeds and emptying the trash boxes and stuff. Otherwise, they become very dirty. So he and 5 other people, one active partner and 3 other, financial partners, they had a parking lot cleaning business, and they also would do airports too. So whenever everything was closed at night, he had people out on machines, small machines, just cleaning the whole places, emptying the trash boxes. And then, as like special candy, they would then close them down, paint them black, and paint the white strips, and that's when they got extra money. So he was a Vaishya. He was managing so many people and dealing with so many problems like that. And he showed me that he had 6 expensive suits, maybe $200, $300, $400, $500, $600 suits, yeah. And he said it wasn't prayashash. It wasn't over endeavor. It wasn't achahara having too many suits. He said, because when you're the boss, you've got to look like the boss. When, Prabhupada says directly, a Kshatriya has to have good dress, weapons, and social prestige to do his job. So when he was standing in front of all of his employees, they would look at, oh, Mr. Gennaro, I have simple work clothes of Mr. Gennaro. He has a, expensive suit. And he said he had to have 6 of them because if he only had 5, then his employees would figure out, oh, he wears that one on Tuesday. He wears this one. Oh, Mr. Gennaro only has 5 suits. I thought, but if he had 6, then they would rotate, and then people would just think, oh, he has unlimited numbers. He's important. Then he showed me his neckties, and he has something maybe, I don't know, 150 neckties or something. And he said, yeah, that's over collecting. I don't need that many neckties and stuff. So it goes on and on like that. The main thing is don't hanker too much. Don't collect more than necessary. And then because that will require over endeavor. And then you have no time for spiritual life. Jana Sangas. First verse says you can become socially related to everybody in the world as guru. This verse says Jana Sangas. Yeah. Associating with Jana, people. Don't associate with common people. Don't associate with common people. Somebody may tell you, oh, you're not normal. It happened to me when I was becoming, you're not normal. Yeah, but normal people are, with big problems in life and so on. And it's normal in the material world to be with problems, and be causing problems and to be a bad person. Yeah. So Jana Sangas, this is another thing. And don't just follow the common people and associating, read what they're reading, watching the movies and entertainment they're doing. Okay. What else we got? And then Prajalpa, this is what goes right away with Vacho Vegam. Vacho Vegam. And of course, Prabhupada said this is magazines, newspaper, literature, and of course, so many now social media. But other than that, just talking with people. And this is all over the place. Confucius says in China, be sure that mind is engaged before tongue is in motion. Everybody realizes this. You can, Crota, we're discussing that in the first verse. Somebody may have, our mind becomes disturbed, and then we become angry. So anger is the most dangerous function of the mind. And just in some moment, anger may catch you. You may kill somebody. Just hit them. For some reason, you become angry. Then they become back, say something bad back at you, and then suddenly you just become overwhelmed and controlled by anger. And suddenly you realize, I'm 25 years old, but my life just changed completely. Everything about my life is just gone in one moment because of anger. Yeah. And again, you don't have to kill somebody. You can just say something so harsh that it will take them 20 years to forgive you. And it's a fact. So this whole thing about Prajalpa, is so important. Prabhupada says Maya is waiting to catch us at any moment. At any moment, she's ready to catch us. As soon as we forget Krishna, of course, there's a very famous picture of the cat sitting to one side of the little mouse's hole. The mouse has a little hole in the wall, and the mouse is sitting inside with his whiskers and his eyes and his big ears and looking out. And the cat is just outside of view. I think cats' reflexes are 10 times faster than a human being. Cats are even faster than cobras. There's a nice image of a lioness, and she's someplace in the wild, and she's starting to head off, and she's yelling at her cubs to come along. Roar! because the cubs are over playing with the cobra, you know, batting at the cobra. And she has no concern whatsoever. Yeah, because the cats are so fast. So anyway, as soon as we forget Krishna, Maya is ready to catch us. Yeah, whap. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how can we always remember Krishna? Prabhupada says by chanting 16 good rounds a day, 16 nice rounds a day, because then you become conditioned. You're chanting, chanting, chanting. You're chanting with attention. You're chanting with meaning, meter. And so it becomes a part of your body, your perspective, the way you look at things. And it will last 16 rounds by Krishna's arrangement, chanting enthusiastic rounds. It will last for one day. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And so this Maya starts to come, that it doesn't feel right. Oh, yeah. Oh, Krishna reminds us, watch out. Yeah. So Achahara, Prayasash, Prajalpa, and Janasanga, and Niyamagraha. So in the text there, we saw that it's actually two words. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, uh, uh, in the Anuvritti. Let me go then. Let me go then to the where is it here? Oh my goodness. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. Nectar of Instruction, text number 2. And if we go down, okay. So again, we're pointing out, it's very nice to notice that the second half of every purport is Prabhupada then this closely summary study of Bhaktisiddhanta's commentary, the Anuvritti. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anuvritti commentary that too much endeavor, achahara, to acquire knowledge on the part of mental speculators or dry philosophers, falls within the category of achahara. Okay. Now, in his original Anuvritti, we made the comment that Bhaktisiddhanta also says acquiring too many mystical powers, as also achahara. Prabhupada doesn't mention that in his summary study of the Anuvritti here. So Prabhupada does that. We have to do that. He has to adjust it in those times. When Bhaktisiddhanta was writing in 18 something or other, 1830s, yeah, many people in Bengal, even now you may know, in these places like that, they still, through Hatha Yoga and stuff, they develop powers and so on. And of course, there's a danger there too, because you start developing when you're going on book distribution. The ultimate thing, this is all Upadeshamrita applies to that. You're going out trying to do the greatest sacrifice for Vishnu of trying to sell Prabhupada's books to people, distribute Prabhupada's book, get nice donations. Yeah, yeah. So, but then you start developing all these techniques. I was learning to be a salesman for some time there. And there's so many techniques, For example, if I could say, so you want to eat some worms, right? And then or you want to take this book, right? And then I just nod my head up and down, and another person may not say anything, and I just keep on nodding my head up and down, and I keep my mouth shut. I don't say another thing, and it may take 10 minutes. And finally, it's so powerful. So powerful. It's called the McCabe nod. Okay. Yeah. So you like to eat worms, right? And the other person, yeah, it's such a powerful psychological tool. Yeah. Another one is you kind of distract the person a little bit. You ask them something and you push the book towards them. And the natural thing is for them just to take it. Okay. Now, once the book is in their hand, of course, giving it back is like a kind of a little bit of an uphill thing. So there's so many of these mystical tricks, magical tricks, And yeah, we can acquire some, but don't acquire too many. What is the real thing for distributing books? It's the sincerity, the bhakti, the concern, the compassion. Otherwise, you start learning all these tricks, and then it destroys our bhakti. You start doing Sankirtan, distributing books for fame, prestige, honor, liberation, or money, collecting money. You know, Bhaktidas, my first temple president, told Prabhupada when he was visiting San Francisco, Prabhupada, selling your books is the best business. And Prabhupada said, yes, but don't make it a business. Yeah. Okay, so Bhaktisiddhanta talks about over-collecting, chahara, yeah, and it goes also into the subtle aspect of the world too, not just collecting things. You know. Then Prabhupada gives a very nice story. It may be on the questions, it may be there about one man who acquired so much money, got a big house for his children, and then what happened? He took birth as a shoemaker, having to cut up, fatty, nasty carcasses of animals to make shoes. And when he brought them to try and sell to his former children, they just took the shoes and whacked him good and chased him away. So, so nice example that so many nice examples that over collecting, and what is the result? Yeah, results the exact opposite. Rather than becoming happy, all these things become our problem. Prabhupada says Ravana's problem was he had more benedictions than he could peacefully enjoy. Yeah. There are an unlimited number of material pleasures, and nobody can have all of them. As soon as I heard that in a purport, I realized I was trying to have all of them. Well, okay, there's unlimited number. You can't have them all. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. So even if we're attached to, gratification of our tongue, belly, and genitals, then everything that the Shastras are suggesting in terms of sexual relations, in terms of eating, these are all actually the way to even enjoy the material world in the best possible fashion. So yeah, accumulate what you need for your service, or to stimulate your senses. The senses got to be paid. Hey, so Prabhupada said it's like salt. You need a certain amount of salt. You need a certain amount of sense gratification. And then niyamagraha. Okay, so this is Bhaktisiddhanta discusses it, and that's a little bit problem. Of course, if you've read this, and so you know that there are two ways to break the word. One is niyama agraha, which has a long A, okay, and the other one is niyama agraha, okay, yeah. The word agraha means eager to accept. The word agraha means eagerness to accept. And agraha means failure to accept. So both ways. So sometimes you see people say, oh, well, they're doing too much morning program. You shouldn't do so much morning program. You shouldn't be getting up all the time like that. Hey, you're getting up from Mangalarti too much. Hey, you're going to Bhagavatam class too much. Yeah. I've heard that directly, people, So this is the point, that why are we doing the yamas and the niyamas? One devotee, forgot his name, a very nice Indian devotee in the beginning of ISKCON in San Francisco when it was 90% hippies or Western people. Very nice guy. He married a very nice girl. And then they were expecting a child. So I was head pujari then. He wanted to go on the altar every morning. So, okay. And he was doing it specifically worshiping our little Gauranatai deities, so he would get a son rather than a girl. He got a girl, and she was a very nice girl, so he liked her very much. He was happy, yeah. But that was it. So he was doing it, and of course, this is Bhava Bas. Bhava Bas. This is, of course, nectar of devotion. It goes in much more detail. Why are you following the rules and regulations? The rules and regulations may stimulate bhava, but different kinds of bhava. This is bhava bas. We've got the two kinds. One is chaya, and then there's shadow attachment, and other thing like that, reflection. If you grow up in an ISKCON family, you may be experiencing some kind of ecstasy because you're associating with devotees, but it has that material nature still to it. It's just because you're associating with devotees. It's not real bhava. It's bhava bas. Or you may be doing devotional service for some material motive. Okay. And this is the other kind. I forgot what it is. You know? And that that can even be more intense. Yeah. Yeah. So the rules, somebody microphone open there. Yeah. So the rules and regulations, yeah, we can follow the rules and regulations extremely intensely, extremely precisely, 24 hours a day. We should do that if it's for the purpose of advancing in devotional service. But if we're doing it for some other purpose, yeah, then following the rules and regulations means we become overly attached. See, overly attached, but it's not over, it's improperly attached, improperly attached. Okay. And this will be an impediment in devotional service. How we apply the rules and regulations. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Okay. And he goes on talking about whimsical material prosperity, capitalists and communists. They don't know how to use everything properly, neither one of them. And he gives a nice example of finding $100 bill, which may be on the test. One person steals it, runs away with it. Karmi. Second person says, oh, I'm not going to touch that. I don't want to get involved. This is Mayavadi. And third person, he says, oh, let me return this to the owner. Okay. So he's a good person, devotee. He goes ahead and gives it to Krishna. Yeah. Okay. Capitalists and communists, because they're not real capitalists or real communists. Then we see Ishopanishad. Like we're saying in Bhakti Vaibhava, we can look at how all these verses are completely important. Every single one of them is like as a resource. You know, Upadeshamrita is the only study guide you need for all of Prabhupada's books. So this whole verse number 2 is fantastic basis for lecturing in the universities in this Department of Economics, political science. In South America, maybe also different in Pakistan also, there's South America, there's a strong communist and capitalist competition. Many students, of course, Che Guevara and stuff were supporting a whole communist, and during the Cold War, the KGB was fighting the CIA, you know, behind the scenes and assassinating people, everything going on. So, but yeah, what is your idea about economics? It's a very good area to preach in the university atmosphere and the political atmosphere. So this is our resources. Prabhupada's quoting here. This verse is about over collecting, and the whole general idea is perfect. You can use the ideas here, the philosophy. So specifically, the Prabhupada quotes from Ishopanishad. Okay, everybody, let's chant together. Ishavashamidam sarvam yat kincha jagat yan jagat tena tiyak chena bunjitaha magridas kashyas vidyanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So in the Ishopanishad part of Bhakti Shastra, you're going to study this, and you're going to learn some very interesting things, nice details about what is our quota and so on. Then you see that Prabhupada also goes on and he says the devotee knows that this whole world is complete and there's enough for everybody. So here Prabhupada is paraphrasing the invocation to Ishopanishad. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Yeah. So all the books are connected. This is Achahara, over collecting, but then that goes right into the basic ideas in the Upanishads. One time we were doing a program in South America with a big professor of economics at the university, and he said, "This is so amazing. I wanted some answers. I was wondering about things, and you came to this symposium and you're talking about exactly the things I was wondering about." He said, practically speaking, every single Nobel Prize for economics, which is giving some theory, some idea, some system, is based upon the idea that there is not enough. The whole world is based upon the idea that there's not enough, And all economics is basically how to minimize the violence. But what you people are saying, Om Purnamada Purnamidam, is that there is enough for everybody. More than enough. Actually, Krishna says more than enough. And it says a whole different perspective. Yeah. And so that idea went out rippling out into different people. Why we assume there's not enough. I can go a long time on this, but what time is it here? How are we doing here? Yeah. Look at my clock. Okay, 10:12. Okay, we're doing pretty good. Yeah. Okay, I'll do that then. Socrates. This is for Western. I won't, because Socrates is for Western people. Yeah. Socrates is the param guru of all the Western people. Okay, I'll mention it in case you're preaching to Westerners. Socrates described an ideal city, which thing it was, and it was perfectly how this is how the world should be organized, and he was describing that the people in charge should be philosopher kings. So it's a very, very famous example, utopia like that, and people they still consider it what was Socrates' ideal. But in the very beginning, Socrates is talking to his friend, and he's describing a vegetarian society, where you don't kill animals and this kind of thing, and then they're growing this and share the crops and the distribution, everything else, higher purposes. But then his friend says, "Oh, Socrates, that's not impractical." Thinking that people won't kill animals. Yeah. And so then so how should we deal with that? So Socrates says, all right, if you're going to have a society where people are killing animals, if you're going to have a society of pigs, okay, then you got to do this, and then you got to do that, and then you got to do this, and then you got to do that. So much of what he's describing are all things that have to make remedies for this one basic thing of not following your quota, which is partly not killing animals. It's a very big part of our quota is, and it's not necessary. Krishna has arranged our quota so we can live very happily, without killing animals. So one very big philosopher said, it is one of the best kept secrets in Western civilization that Socrates' ideal city was vegetarian. Yeah. So Isopanishad, very nice. I love this area for preaching. It's very successful. Yeah. Okay. So Prabhupada says, when we give up, this is the conclusion here. When we give up these elementary faults, given by Rupa Goswami, all the enmity between animals, men, and capitalists and communists, so forth, will go away. In addition, all problems of economic or political maladjustment and instability will be solved. This pure consciousness is awakened by proper spiritual education and practice offered scientifically by the Krishna consciousness movement. So everybody here in this class, we have to become political scientists. Yeah. Okay. And this verse, Prabhupada finishes off. This is the verse that I see Prabhupada paraphrasing the most. Of all the verses that are mentioned in Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, so many places, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is the one I see being paraphrased, being used the most. Achahara Prayasas Cha. Yeah. Or maybe it's the next one. One of these two. I think it's I think it's this one. This one. Yeah. Okay. But these two are very important verses. Okay. So anybody, there's a chat. Let's look at the chat here. Okay. It says Dandavat Pranams from Mananga Manjari Devidasi. Okay. Thank you. Same to you, Mataji. Okay. So if there's no questions in the chat or comments, and now it is. What do you mean it is? I mean, the sun is at, here I am, 10:16. So we've gone through 45 minutes of our class time. Let's all chant the Maha Mantra here together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah. Since I was a child, I like flutes. If you're a brahmachari or a sannyasi, you can carry a flute with you. And grihastha have harmonium. So flute or brahmachari harmonium. Very nice for your body, everything. So it's simple, practical life. Okay, now today then we're on text number 3. Okay. And so I guess I can go up here and see over here the little gear machine. I can click the gear and I can increase the font size a little bit. Okay. Okay, so let's all chant together. Utsahan nishchaya daryat tatat karma pravartanat sanga tyagat sito ritahe shadbir bhaktir prasidati. Shift, Alt, Control, H. There we go. Okay, again. Utsahan nishchaya daryat tatat karma pravartana sangatyaga sito vrite sabir bhaktir prasidati. Last one was vinashati. This is prasidati. Yeah. And again we see sangatyagat. Yeah. Yeah. So keeping good association, avoiding bad association. So, Utsahan Nischaya Daryat. And I hope you read this. It was assignment there. And then, that's a little bit too big. Let me go back and make it a little smaller. Give it a click. That's enough. Yeah. That's still pretty big. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's good for me. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regular principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. Oh, wait a second. Okay. Oh, Sangha Tyaga. Yeah. Same as the last time. 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, Seto Vrite. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And so you know when somebody is doing something for you and they want something. Okay, and it's just some ways it's very, very, very maybe it's more distasteful than someone being honest and trying to sell you something. Yeah. So pure devotional service is what we're trying to offer to Krishna. But yeah, it's natural. It's natural. We'll see that later on, that verse being quoted. Krishna, does it go? Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema. It is our natural condition to love Krishna. It's actually easier to be a Paramahamsa than it is to be a demon. You have to kind of endeavor to be a demon. Yeah. But we have to somehow or other, by our effort, our higher intelligence, this good association, get rid of these contaminations. So Prabhupada, right in the very beginning, he says, devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Sentimental speculation, well, I think it's like this or that or so and so, or imaginative ecstasy. Haribo, Haribo. Its substance is practical activity. Yeah. Later on, I think Prabhupada will say, devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative sexy. It is practical activity in the foreground of spiritual life. So what's practical for the gopis is not practical for us. Yeah. But that, whatever it is, at different levels, that the foreground is practical activity. what are the gopis and Krishna doing? They're cowherd boys, they're village people. So all their activities are practical. Oh, but within that, of course, is all this, beautiful, wonderful, loving activities, but practical activities. We run the Rajmandal Parikrama with Lokanath Maharaj. We would go around Vrindavan during Kartik with 400 people. He wouldn't come back. Lokanath, Radhanath Swami's group comes back every night. We would go out and just sleep on the ground, bathe with buckets in the fields. And it was really an intense immersion experience. And for my nature, it was very good. I did it more than 7 times. And boy, you just very intense, pressure in your mind just becomes very simple. It's very good for Vaidhi Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. So one time we were walking in the morning. We get up early and start walking and visiting beautiful places, going around Vrindavan. And 400 of us in the line. And I was walking, and I look across the field was a little housing compound with maybe like 3, 4 buildings, some different sizes, and you could tell it was an extended family, some brothers, cousins, parents, grandparents, children. And they were, kind of living together, and they had their land and their animals. So I looked over, and 2 Brijbasis were kind of arguing about something, like some cow had wandered off, and somebody had to go out and find the cow and bring it back, as well as all the other duties. And they were arguing about, who was going to go get the cow, and then finally it looked like one of them kind of lost and a little bit disgusted. He turned away and was going to head off, whatever. And so in my mind, the idea passed that you can only become a Brijbasi by the mercy of the Brijbasis. Yeah. Sadhana Bhakti won't do it. Yeah. And so my mind was thinking that. And so this was some distance, away. And so I just spontaneously was looking over, and the Brijbasi who was walking away in irritation looked up, and our eyes met. And then with my glance, just spontaneously, I was asking him, "Can I become a Brijbasi?" And he looked at me and he kind of nodded, nodded like, "Yeah, you can become a Brijbasi, but you have to go get the cow." Okay. So that's what it is, even Brijbasis. Their lives are just full of all these practical activities. That's what it is. It's not sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. And now then Prabhupada quotes, one, 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 one. Yeah, we mentioned this before. Nectar of Devotions, the big brother. And here it is, the Paribhasa Sutra, the verse which brings it all together. Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasis have challenged devotees if they know this verse. So let's all chant together. Anyabilasita shunyam jnana karmari anavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. So when you get to Nectar of Devotion, you probably have an entire day on just this one verse. Uttama Bhakti, or unalloyed devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, involves the rendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from any extraneous motive and devoid of desires for fruitive results or impersonal wisdom and all other selfish desires. Okay. So again, in Nectar of Devotion, you go into much more detail. But here Prabhupada says bhakti is a sort of cultivation. So that's the word shilanam. That's the word shilanam. As soon as we say cultivation, we refer to activity. Cultivation of spirituality does not mean sitting down idly for meditation, as some pseudo-yogis teach. It may be good for some time. We have no information. Yeah. But ultimately, it's a failure. Okay. So, and what is the activity that Prabhupada is pointing out? Hearing and chanting. He mentions all 9 activities. See, this important verse is right here. But he said the first thing is hearing. So we have to cultivate hearing. That's what he's saying. Cultivate hearing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Acquiring knowledge. Yes. And we have to hear from spiritual master. Yeah. He gives several references. Yeah. 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 3 different references. Hearing is devotional service. Yeah. And he says, one should accept this opportunity, going back to Godhead, that very enthusiastically. Yeah. Without being enthusiastic about hearing, cultivating hearing, one cannot be successful. Okay. And then Prabhupada gives a nice example. It's universal. It's universal. He gives example of business people, students. Yeah. Without enthusiasm, you're not going to be successful. And so Prabhupada will define enthusiasm as not what do you word, imaginative ecstasy. No, he says he'll define it as activity executed in Krishna consciousness with intelligence. If you lose your enthusiasm, you can always find it in your intelligence. Now, if you know what the goal is, and it's an inspiring goal, and you know how to achieve it, you will be enthusiastic. Ah, that's wonderful. I can get it. If you aren't sure what the goal is, if you aren't sure how to get it, you won't be enthusiastic. Yeah. So that's where you lose your enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness. Is what I saw after I was becoming a devotee. I was reading Prabhupada's books before I ever came to the temple, and I was becoming enthusiastic about this. Wow, so many things in my life. Wow, this is putting it all together. It's nice. Yeah, Presaka. And so I was enthusiastic. But then I got into the institution. Niyamagraha got me. I had a place to live. I had friends. I had, food. Yeah. So Niyamagraha, I was following the process, and I saw that after maybe like 5 years or something, my original Krishna consciousness had become unenthusiastic. So then I was able to go to Vrindavan after that time and stay there. And I really focused on just developing this. Got back online again. So we have to cultivate enthusiasm by cultivating our intelligence. Okay. And he gives the example of business people. Yeah. Yeah. Then Prabhupada goes into very practical thing. Yeah. And he's talking about being enthusiastic. He says everything's coming for Krishna. So enthusiasm means using everything for Krishna. And he gives the example of a dictaphone. Yeah, dictaphone, tape recorder. Yeah, everything. Yeah. How can we use nuclear weapons for Krishna? Okay. Yeah, everything. And this is the whole art. We have to take everything in our life, and every process in our life, and be enthusiastic. We have to be thinking about Krishna all the time. We have to be thinking about Krishna all the time intensely, and we have to be thinking about Krishna all the time intensely and broadly. This will come out later on. Yeah. So, and it's just natural. We begin to see by guidance by the spiritual master, I was saying here, by guidance by devotees, association with devotees, guidance by the Lord in the heart, we have to see how everything can be used in Krishna's service. And of course, we're starting with big things. I have to make my money. I have to go to work. Well, how can I do this in Krishna consciousness? I have a family. Well, how can I be enthusiastic in my family relations? So we take care of the big things first. Okay. Okay. All the ingredients. What Prabhupada's talking about here. Then he talks about patience. Okay. These activities must be executed with patience. Okay, not impatient. Yeah. So I heard, it's not here, but I heard Prabhupada said that enthusiasm is more important than patience. Yeah. Okay, you're in some difficult situation, you're frustrated. Okay, I'll be patient. No, work on figuring out how to solve the problem. Make that first. But don't become, yeah, wait. Enthusiasm without patience becomes passion. Patience without enthusiasm becomes lethargy. Yeah, yeah. So if you're just thinking enthusiasm, but not okay, calm down, be patient, be here, not including some patience, some austerity, then it will just turn into passion, and the ultimate result will be bad. Where am I going? I don't know. What am I doing? I don't care. All I know is I am on my way. Mode of passion, come along. Mode of passion, sing a song. This is, I took this from a big American opera. Yeah, but that's it. Come on, let's go. Yeah. Oh, all right, well, yeah, but you haven't got a clear idea what you're trying to do and how to do it, and so you tumble head over heels and have all these problems, and lose all your enthusiasm. So, tempering your enthusiasm with some patience, Of course, well, yeah. Actually, what happens is your enthusiasm, when you become more advanced, will dictate the patience. And so your impatience actually becomes part of your enthusiasm. You are enthusiastically patient to see what happens. Yeah. Okay. And then Prabhupada goes on talking about a young girl. She shouldn't expect to have a baby 10 minutes after she's married. But she has, okay, this is Nishchayana now. Okay. Patience and Nishchayana. Nishchayana means determination, that you're convinced this is right. You should be enthusiastic, you should be patient, and you should be convinced that what I'm doing is right. We'll go ahead, and Prabhupada says, yeah, and following the rules and regulations given by the acharyas, tat tat karma pravartana. Yeah. In this Krishna consciousness movement, there are four basic regulative principles forbidding illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. A devotee must be very enthusiastic about following these principles. So it's not chanting 16 rounds and following the four principles. That's not our vow. Our vow is to chant 16 enthusiastic rounds and follow the four principles strictly. Yeah. Because you see, devotees, they chant 16 unenthusiastic rounds for 5 years and they say this doesn't work and they give up. No, it's not 16 offensive rounds. That's not the contract. Prabhupada says you have to do it with enthusiasm. Yeah. And if you're not doing it, okay, you're not doing it. You're not following the process. So don't expect the result. Look for how you can do it. Be enthusiastic. Yeah. So many details will come up. Okay. Following the rules and regulations. In addition to these four prohibitions, there are positive regulative principles, niyama, such as daily chanting 16 rounds on beads. These regulative principles must be faithfully performed with enthusiasm. That is called tata karma pravartana, or varied engagement in devotional service. So following our acharya, when Prabhupada was leaving his body, he said, don't say I didn't leave you anything. What did he give us? He gave us Ratha Yatra. Wow. He gave us full morning program. He gave us a deity worship. We can do so many beautiful things, temple construction. And he gave us all this Varna ashram, so many things, but very specifically, he taught us practical activities, cooking prasadam and distribution, So many very, very practical things, kirtans with family members, bhajans. Yeah. So we have so many things we can follow from Prabhupada. Narottam Das Thakur gave us so many songs, and we can chant those songs. Yeah. So many things that we've got from the previous acharyas. Okay. So, and then Jana Sanghas again. Yeah. Keep association with nice people. Yeah. Of course, you read all this. Okay. Okay. I think down here. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I missed it. But Bhakti Siddhanta in his Anuvritti, which is previous part there, I notice he's especially focusing on Nishchayana. He's again and again and again saying that one should not deviate. One should be convinced that this process works. This process will have good results. There's an example in the Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavad Gita, the word Nishchayin is being used. Maybe you know it, Nishchayad. And the purport probably gives the example of a sparrow, a little bird, the sparrow, who lost her eggs in the ocean. Okay. My friend Lokanath, Maharani, who didn't know atoms from molecules, but was enthusiastic about, was a guru for for Nobel laureates. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We did the puppet shows, and one puppet show he did was a shadow show. It was really nice. He really nice person, and he had a whole stage which we could assemble and disassemble and assemble. So it was a really nice example of Sankirtan preaching enthusiasm. So we were traveling all over the country and doing shows at universities, libraries, people's homes, and it was a very nice experience, very effective. So we had the marionettes and with the string puppets, and boy, that you can learn right away how this body is a puppet. In the beginning, the puppets would just kind of bounce around, but he said after a while, your consciousness goes down the strings. And yeah, then you become absorbed, and then you're moving the head, you're moving the arms, you're moving the body, and the talking, and the puppet comes to life. And so from just that one thing, you can understand, oh, my mind and body are the same way. Yeah. So then we had shadow shows, and those are famous in Bali. I don't know if you have them in Pakistan, but in Bali, they're very famous. And you have a light, and you have making some kind of things, puppets or something, figures, and those who we'll call it project shadows. And of course, you can do those with different kinds of lights and stuff, candles and stuff. So they're very old technology, but very powerful. Have the entire Ramayana over 7 or 6 nights, or Mahabharata. So we had this one. He does this one of the sparrow who lost her eggs, and he would look in different kinds of secondhand stores for all kinds of things that made different sounds. So he had all these very enthusiastic, all these very interesting sound effects. So anyway, we had the ocean, and we had waves that were transparent plastic with blue and stuff, and they would come up here and there, and they had little nest, and of course you have rods behind these things, but you hold them directly at the light so you can't see the rods and stuff. So the waves came and they carried away the little bird's eggs. Okay. So a little bird came, and she's on the bottom of the screen there, and she asked the ocean to give back, and the ocean just laughed at her. Well, she said, okay, if you don't give my eggs back, I'm going to dry you up. And the ocean laughed more. Ho, ho, ho. So she began to, with her little beak, take the ocean out, and news spread all over the place, and different birds came and laughed at her. So these are little, shadow puppets. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. Yeah. But finally, news reached the biggest bird, Garuda. So he came to see what was happening. And then what happens is this big gong going, and then this big foot comes in. Okay. Oh, this is my battery's going low. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The big foot goes in with Garuda, and it's so big it takes up the entire screen, just the foot. Okay. And then it says that Garuda told the ocean, okay, unless you give back her eggs, I'm going to start doing this. Yeah. This little bird is my friend. Yeah. So the ocean gave the eggs back. The little bird was happy. And so Prabhupada says, God helps those who help themselves. Very famous English phrase. Maybe you have it. God helps those who help themselves. And this is fundamentally it. Yeah. We during devotional service, I will just sit back and Krishna will do everything. No, God helps those who help themselves. Krishna is trying from his side. He's trying, but if, Prabhupada says in here, he says, once we begin the process, we're more or less forcibly dragged on to the conclusion. Any service you do to the deity never forgets. If you just relish some prasadam one time, then the deity is always remembering that, telling Radharani, oh, he liked our prasad. And that will always grow in the heart of the deity. But if we go ahead and cultivate it, it may take less than 25 lifetimes for the result to happen like that. So this is utsahan nischaya daryat. We have to be convinced to stick to devotional service, that the result will come automatically as a result. Okay. Since all the devotees of the Lord are under the protection of His supreme potency, they should not deviate from the path of devotional service and take to the path of the karmi, jnani, or yogi. This is called utsahan nischaya daryat tata karma pravartana. Enthusiastically executing the regulative activities of devotional service with patience and confidence. In this way, one can advance in devotional service without hindrance. Okay. So, okay, we're doing pretty well here. My voice and everything are giving out to some degree. So that's our verses that we were trying to do this week. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And so somebody, you may have questions now in your readings and everything else. So please, I guess maybe one way is just put them in the chat, or I guess you can also raise your hands. How do I get rid of this? How do I stop my PowerPoint show? There it is. Okay. Yeah. Prabhupada says, if you haven't got any questions, it means you are happy in this nasty place. So, is everybody happy in this nasty place? Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Gitika Kumari raised her hand. Okay, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Krishna Maharaj, Pranam. Maharaj, I have a question, that how we can always be enthusiastic.
How can we, again,
How can always be enthusiastic?
how can we always be enthusiastic? How can we always be enthusiastic? Okay. So that's what I was mentioning. There are two aspects. What is the goal in any situation? What is the goal? And then how to achieve it. And so we have to sit down and just deal with our intelligence. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? What? And of course, that's the point. We're little children. Okay. Krishna is the aggressor. I'm not going to know. I'm not going to have. I'm not going to be enthusiastic. It's only happening basically fundamentally because Krishna, the original male, right, is enthusing us, right? The gopis don't become enthusiastic to be attracted to Krishna. Krishna just raises his eyebrows and looks at them, and then they fall apart. Okay. Yeah, that's what Baba flutes and and enthusiasming them to dance and do different things like that. So the fundamental principle is not the false ego, I am this, I am that. Fundamental principle is how can I take the mercy Krishna is giving me? Okay. One man is in a house and a big flood comes and the water is up to the middle of his legs outside of his house. But a big truck comes by on the road and says, "Oh, come through the water. Come through the water and get on the truck. I'll save you." And he says, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." Okay. So the water comes higher. Yeah, he goes up onto the second story. A boat comes by. The guy says, "Jump in the water. Come over here. I'll save you. I'm waiting for God to save me." So the water goes higher, and finally he gets up on his roof, and a helicopter comes and says, "Take the rope. We'll save you." And he says, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." Okay. So the helicopter goes away, and finally the clouds separate, and a big light comes out of the sky and shines down on the man on his roof, and he says, "What are you waiting for? I've already sent a truck, a boat, and a helicopter." So yeah, that's how to be enthusiastic. Just look around. Krishna's, try out the hypothesis. Is Krishna kind? Is Krishna trying to help me? Yeah. How is he trying to help me? Yeah. Okay. So that now I've got enthusiasm, I got the goal, and I know how to do it. Yeah. Vaisheshika says, inch by inch, it's always a cinch. Yeah, yeah, okay, that's gonna move me forward. That'll work. Okay. And then your enthusiasm comes, and enthusiasm builds enthusiasm. Of course, it's an entire science, but that's the basic principle. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, okay, okay. Uttama Bhakti has his hand raised. Yes, sir. Uttama Bhakti. Yeah, yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam,
Hare
All Glory to
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada.
Oh
Maharaj,
my goodness.
if no one from Karachi has or Pakistan has a question, I would like to ask a question. I want to give them first chance to ask a question if they have any questions.
So you're being patient. Yeah.
Trying, Maharaj. Uh, my question is on the verse number 2 that you summarized today, and we discussed it in detail yesterday. But the question is on verse 2 and the two elements of verse 2, which is prayas and lolyam, specifically in relation to those two elements of verse 2. So I've seen over the period of time, I've seen extensively, I've observed it, I've come across many such instances where our ISKCON devotees in the West, because most of my time has I've spent in the West, I've seen that ISKCON devotees tend to be educated and professionals and stuff. So in that sense, I've noticed that sometimes or most of the times they are in professions where they don't have much time for their sadhana or bhakti or service. uh, Let me give you a couple of examples. IT, many of our ISKCON devotees are in IT sector, information technology, many are in medical field, and so these are two very demanding, there may be more, but these are two very demanding professions. In IT, sometimes some of our devotees, they have to attend meeting 5 in the morning because they have global teams and stuff, and they have to travel, and they have to deal with variety of situations. That's number one. Number two, now the medical field is a very lengthy and long field, especially in the US. You have 4 years of pre-med, 4 years of med, 3 years of residency, 2 years of specialty and stuff. So do you think, I'm just giving you a couple of examples, there may be more, but do you think these two, at least that I mentioned, fall into the category of prayas and lolyam?
Well, kind of behind it is that Achahara. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, what, yeah. You're only engaging in prayas if you're trying to acquire more than you need. Yeah, yeah. And so again, this kind of goes back to the same thing. You know, Krishna says, Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam. So is that a fact or not? Prabhupada saying we do not, with 434 Bhagavad Gita, it says, Tabditi Pranipatena. It's saying, the purport Prabhupada says, blind faith and imagine with blind faith and something or other, something that's science. Blind faith and absurd inquiry are condemned. So yeah, faith doesn't mean that I do this with blind. No, first initiation. Arjuna was initiated. Sishyas teham sarimam pam papanam, right? Initiated. But that didn't mean he didn't have any doubts. That didn't mean that Krishna just said, "Okay, fight, kill them." No, he had a lot of questions. Yeah. All it means, the first initiation, is that I will not have any artificial doubts. Yeah. Many people are looking for God, but most people hope they don't find him. Yeah. Because, oh, I'm looking for God, this and that and everything else. Well, okay, are you really looking for God? Well, not really. I like, the honor and all this kind of stuff, the fun. Yeah. So initiation, diksha, at that point means that, okay, no artificial doubts. Real doubts, yeah. And now the thing is bring them up. Don't keep them. Yeah, don't keep them and stuff. Okay. And are you sure that God is there? Not really. Yeah, but it seems like the best proposition in my experiences. But yeah, it's the best. One of Prabhupada's Gravita, Sridhar Maharaj, very advanced devotee. He said one time, I don't know about these advanced things. I think I'm on the right path. Yeah, that's you ask somebody or initiated this and that and everything else. Yeah, that's all that we expect. Anything more than that, we know is not a fact. You don't know what's going on. You're coming out, you're the child. You don't know anything. We've given you some taste, we've given you some experience. And if you're honest, yeah, then okay, you come to the point where you're ready for initiation. You know, you go ahead to the university and you matriculate and you have faith that they're going to, supply the education, and you've got to do this and that. And if it's not happening, if they're not supplying their side, you're not obliged to go on. So if we're not advancing in devotional service, we're not obliged to chant 16 rounds and follow the four principles. That's a straight deal. So our proposition here is Om Purnam Adaha Purnamidam. And you approach your work thing, and then Prabhupada says one time, he says, engage in hearing and chanting as much as you can. He said, but you can't do it full time. He says, therefore, do whatever you can do for Krishna, nicely, not dog hard. So that's what Krishna expects in most circumstances. He expects that we'll chant Hare Krishna and gradually we'll find some way, he'll supply some way where we can make our money in a nice fashion according to our ashram. And I give examples of people. Dr. Jariwala, he used to work with Linus Pauling out in the San Bay Area where we were there. In the beginning, he had all these struggles and everything else, okay, Krishna chanting. In the end, he was a chemist. So in the end, he found a German pharmaceutical company that was using natural products, rather than terrible chemicals. And they were giving a lot of free pharmaceuticals to third world countries, And the guy had a philosophy, and he saw how he was able to be working with more enthusiasm and less endeavor. One devotee, you know him. He's actually a part of our community here. I won't mention his name. He he was working. I think it was for Micron or something like that at that time. One of the big companies, Seagate or something. And they told him, hey, you can advance. You can advance to the next position, make more money. And he saw, yeah, the people that are making more money, but the increase in endeavor and everything else is more than the increase in salary. And I have enough. My family's telling me make more money and everything else, but hey, we have enough, And he discovered, this is before COVID, so he had to be in the office, So what he did is, and the other people, he put the entire Bhagavatam in Linux or something, the whole Bhagavatam, so he could be sitting there reading the Bhagavatam, right? Yeah, because he finished his work and everything else. And when his boss walked by, he would look over his shoulder or something. It would look like somehow it looked like he was doing, yeah. And then other people started taking the same thing, yeah. So yeah, he found a way. Being paid for 8 hours, being the time and that kind of stuff, and everybody very satisfied. Another devotee, they were laying off. This was Hewlett Packard, as an Antarup. Everybody was getting laid off from Hewlett Packard, and he just done one project on researching marketing stuff. He was in sales, but at the same time he had these projects with the temple, and so he had been, just doing it as best he could. But a lot of his time, while he was working, he was actually working on temple stuff, and so he got called in by his boss and his boss's boss, and he thought, this is it. You know, they said, we want to talk to you about your last work product. You know, oh my God, this is it. You know, they're laying people off. This last thing, I just prayed to Krishna to get it done. Okay. He went in and they were looking at the paper. They looked up at it and said, look, you know, we're having to lay people off. Oh my God, this is it. You know, he said, and so, but we saw your last work product, and it's so useful and so valuable that we want to make sure you don't go looking for another job. See, we wanted to tell you that there's no way we're going to lay you off. And actually, if we have to, we'll tell you this, we'll give you a little bit of a raise. And he couldn't talk. He was so shocked. And then he said, okay, we'll give you a substantial raise. Don't go anywhere else. You know, this is so useful. We're spreading it through Europe, every place else. So yeah, you know, you start working on it, and yeah, you can. You can be Vibhishana in Lanka. Vibhishana said being a devotee of Vishnu in Lanka was like being a tongue surrounded by sharp teeth. Yeah, yeah, you'll find out. That's what the thing, in my experience, is true. By living at everything else, you know, that, yeah, there is a God. He wants you to live a reasonable life. Yeah. And yeah, you got to do some austerities here and there, but basically you'll discover a way to do it. Be patient. Be patient. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
For how many hours a day is necessary to actually support your life? Economists have studied this, totally independent of the Hare Krishnas. I mean, how many hours a day do you have to work and not to buy extra clothes for your wife so you can strut her around and make her look good in front of other people? Yeah. How many hours a day of practical work is it to maintain your life?
Is it a question to me?
Yep. What do you think? I mean, economists have studied.
Yeah, well, I don't know what I don't have the reference of an economist or multiple economists, but here in my situation, my own situation, I think 6 hours of work can do it.
2 hours a day.
Oh,
Yeah, but that's a simple living and high thinking. Yeah, yeah. I saw one guy's in Vrindavan. This guy was sitting on the ground with he was making japa beads, and so he had the sticks cut to a certain length, and it was a little lathe, but it was just run by your foot, and it put together and had an inner tube tire cut up, and he would pop them on, and then turn the lathe with his foot a little bit and chant Hare Krishna, one mantra basically, and the drill would go right through, and he'd pop it off, you know. And he said about 2 hours a day of that work was all he needed to just pay his bills and have some place to sleep. Yeah. And why should he want anything else in Vrindavan? That was his point. I'm living in Vrindavan. I got a little money. What more do I want? Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
We're working like asses.
yeah. I get your point, Maharaj. I do get your point. I think this final question that you asked me, it nailed my question. So I think that was wonderful. It was very nice. Thank you.
2 hours a day. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. But there's a point too, is that, you know, in many things, different factors. This is why I'm a sannyasi. You need to talk to grihastas who are doing the work.
Yeah.
If a man
Thank
wants
you.
to prosper, he should ask his wife. Okay, any other questions or comments here? Yeah.
Gitika Kumari has a question. I think she has raised her hand.
Okay.
Hare
Oh, I
Krishna
see.
Maharaj, I have put it on a chat.
Okay. Where's chat's down there? Okay. Okay. Dandavat. Maharaj, your flute voice is not audible. Okay. Okay. How can we always be enthusiastic? Okay. What you advise, should a girl engages in making or earning money or simply rely on her partner in Krishna consciousness? Okay, now you're asking a sannyasi, right? This question. Yeah. So, but that's good because I mean, a sannyasi is supposed to be above it all, right? That's the whole purpose. The sannyasi is okay. So now I'm going to give my view on this thing from 25,000 miles in the sky. Yeah, yeah. But other than that, we all need ashram gurus. All the brahmacharis need people who can guide them in being brahmacharis. All the ladies, we need grannies, right? Do you have grannies around? Yeah, yeah. How much is a good grandmother worth? Yeah. How much is a good aunt worth? More than a sannyasi. Yeah. A good grandmother is worth more than a sannyasi. Somebody who's been through it all, right? I've seen this, and just they lived a very, very good life, and they're sannyasis. They can tell you how it works. I remember some of the girls were Rasaraja's mother came and visited us in South India, in San Francisco. And some of the Western girls in the afternoon were talking with her and stuff. And some were saying, "Well, I've been married, for 6 years, and it's been really difficult, this and that. And we're thinking about getting a divorce and this and that and stuff." And she was saying, "Yeah, the first 10 years of my marriage were tough too, but after that it all became okay." Okay, so yeah, oh, all right, yeah. So we need people to give us this kind of advice, in terms of ladies, and the general principle is that, with the strong points in the female body, body has advantages and disadvantages. If you look at Bhishmadev's instructions to Yudhisthira in the first canto, he's talking about women, and he says women as a source of inspiration for men are more powerful than men. Okay, and therefore this inspirational power they have to learn how to control it by two things: chastity and shyness. Okay, shyness. Yeah. But so yeah, ladies begin to figure out that by their nature, little girls, one devotee said his what is it? His talking to one of friend, her mother told her when she was a little girl, if you ever want anything very badly, just go sit on daddy's lap and give him a big hug and a big kiss. She tried it and she got a puppy, she got a bicycle. And she said she still keeps on trying it. When she was 20 years old, when her and her husband needed a car, she sat on daddy's lap at 20 years old and asked him to pick up a kiss and got a car. Yeah, it's natural. This is natural. Women are attracted to children, so men are attracted to women. Hey, this is completely natural. Krishna is attracted to Radharani. Radharani is attracted to baby Krishna. Yeah, yeah. So that's part of the whole thing in terms of economic development. Working within the range. And again, I've seen one Vaishya couple in the United States. The Vaishyas, I stayed with them in Laguna Beach. So in the morning, she got the kids off to school, and then she dressed herself chastely. She had a pair of pants and a shirt on and a jacket, but it was chaste and stuff. And the wife was ready, and she went right off to the office with him. Vaishya people, and she kind of managed the office, and she always brought stuff for the employees, So the employees loved working there because they would all sit together and have lunch and talk about things they were doing. Okay. And what he had done, he discovered he had a machine, a very expensive machine, very precise, which would make very, very precise plastic parts. Okay. And it had to be run precisely. The quality of the plastic was incredible. So surgeons would send them the precise specifications for artificial valves for people's hearts, right? And in Japan, they would send, machine parts and stuff. So it was very, very good Vaishya thing. And they had employees had to learn everything else. But every day she would go off and be a part of the business, Yeah. And she was making money in the whole thing. It wasn't depending on him or anything else. And otherwise, I know ladies that go out and they're making business, but their husband knows what's going on, and their husband knows who they're working with, and they depend on this. Okay, working that, and the people that are working with them, they're totally, tight with the woman's husband. Yeah, yeah. And so I would say it depends upon your varna, your ashrama, and maybe exact opposite. Okay, yeah, Prabhupada's saying both being a mother with children and staying in the house and everything else, it's maybe the best job. Yeah, yeah. Rather than putting your kids in daycare centers and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's independent. Different kinds of people are different nature. Yeah. There's a famous Rani in India who went out in the battle, led her army. Okay. She led the army. Okay. Are you that kind of girl? Shut. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other final questions or comments? Okay. Okay. So then we'll meet again. We have a little rest here, studying. But then on next Monday, we'll be going ahead. We'll be, where will I be? Next Monday, I'll be in Dallas, same time zone. Okay. So read text number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to do 4, 5, 6 next week. So you can look at all of them. It's nice to look at them together. Or at least we'll try and look at text number 1, number 4 next week. So thank you very much to everyone. Be enthusiastic in Krishna consciousness. Haribol! Haribol!
Haribo.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.